Hello again. I've had a few requests about questions arising from my last video that I made regarding portals and skinwalker ranch and stuff like that. I've had people asking me about crypto creatures, in other words, strange creatures that suddenly seem to appear from nowhere, don't look anything like we should get in this dimension in our time. Stuff like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, call it what you want, and other various if you like, monsters that are around the world and often appear to startled onlookers. My view of this has been this, and I've had this view for quite some years now, that these are basically creatures that come through some kind of interdimensional portal from time to time. In other words, they don't normally exist in our existence or in our reality, but from time to time they'll suddenly appear. And sometimes people will see them and wonder what they are. Sometimes they'll photograph them or attempt to photograph them. And of course, these pictures are usually not that good and don't really prove anything at all. So people say, well, what's happening? Why are these creatures suddenly appearing and then disappearing? And there seems to be no trace left, such as Bigfoot. People have many reports of various Bigfoot around the Americas and other places as well. There's similar reports from Australia and parts of Asia as well. All have their own little monsters that apparently appear from time to time and then disappear just as quickly as they've come about. Could well be that around the world, as I said the other day, portals exist because of geographical and geological features, basically a dish-shaped terrain, and also the presence of quartz from time to time opens an interdimensional portal, and then beings from those other dimensions will then traverse into our dimension and may well be seen by people who just happen to be passing or whatever. Of course, the array of creatures is almost limitless, given that the number of dimensions are limitless, but of course not all of them will have life in them. Some of these creatures might come from our distant past, for instance, via these portals, because there's also some evidence that time travel is also induced by the arrival of these portals. So it could well be that Loch Ness Monster, for instance, which many people say is similar to a plesiosaur, which obviously we know existed because we've got fossil records, that actually existed millions of years ago. It could be that a plesiosaur or plesiosaurs, because it might be more than one, get transported from their own existence millions of years ago into ours via a portal, and then this portal will then take them back again, which is why we never find any carcasses or any physical evidence. We're basically just going on what people have seen, because these things apparently appear quite quickly and disappear just as quickly. Same might apply to Sasquatch, Bigfoot, call it what you will, in the Americas and other places, where these creatures, massive creatures, 9-10 feet tall on some occasions, covered in fur, very similar to a creature that we know existed up to about, I believe, 100,000 years ago, which was Gigantopithecus, which was like a massive gorilla, but with the long fur and enormous build. And the reports have been from hunters and other people who are out in the wilderness in America, remote places, that they come across these things. Sometimes there's interaction. These Bigfoot are known to throw rocks at people, enormous rocks. I mean, we're not talking a few stones. We're talking about a rock that a full-grown man would not be able to lift. And yet these creatures apparently can throw them around like they're throwing a football, which obviously is of some concern if you're on the receiving end of these things. It appears, though, and it is only an appearance, that they do this more to frighten people off rather than actually attack them. It could be that this is some kind of display of territory, that they don't like you being where you are and to please move on. And most people, of course, do exactly that when these rocks come towards them, because I can't remember a case where one of these rocks has actually hit somebody. They usually land fairly close to them as a warning to scare people. These creatures also do similar sorts of things to scare people, like making very loud cries and roaring sounds and stuff like that, to get more or less get people to move out of the territory. Could be that that's all it is. But are we perhaps looking at a Gigantopithecus that has for some reason come through a portal from its domain hundreds of thousands of years ago and end up here, and then it's transported back within no time at all? That's basically what I think of these crypto creatures. There are many, many, many different types all over the world. Some are big cats, for instance, bear-like creatures, huge bears, much bigger than what we've got today. We have other lake-bound or river-bound creatures, sea monsters. Of course, people could be mistaken when they've seen these things or claim they've seen these things. But when so many people are actually describing this, I think you have to say that something else could be going on here rather than just misidentification of their prosaic items. So again, it's the interdimensional nature of our reality, which we need to get a hold of before we can start to understand these things. But simply dismissing them as being, misidentification or people making things up for financial reasons or whatever. Of course, that does go on, particularly now we've got social media and stuff where you can make money, and various outlets where you can make money out of stuff. There's always going to be the incentive for people to do this. But I'm quite sure a lot of the people who are reporting these things are actually genuine in what they believe they've seen. So they're not making it up. What it is, of course, is debatable. But I don't think the majority of people are making these things up, because a lot of people have a lot to lose from saying this thing. And of course, it also doesn't allow for the fact that most of these reports are probably underreported. I'm quite sure there are many people who see these things and just don't report them because it's just not worth the hassle that they're going to get. People aren't going to believe them. People are going to make fun of them. Their job could be at stake if they've got an official sort of a job within one of these areas. It's quite likely that these people would say nothing, not publicly anyway. Might tell one or two members of their family, but that's as far as it would go. So if you've got any thoughts to this, by all means, give me a message or a comment below. And I'll see you next time. See you again.